very interesting story that I know the viewers will be glad to hear. Welcome to Ebro Africa.
Thank you very much.
Let's start off with your story.
Yes.
Why have you gotten to where you've gotten to right now? To the point you're actually a motivational speaker. There must be a story behind you.
I think I would say many things, but I think one key thing for me was, it's when I was growing up, really. My father was a pastor.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to become a pastor, but I really enjoyed his sermons when he would tell people stories on what he was preaching about and all that. And I thought I needed to do something similar, not so much to address the spiritual matters in the lives of people, but to deal with the emotional and intellectual aspect of human being that enables us to thrive in life. And that's why I got into motivational speaking. Yes.
What did you see in humanity that led you to feel spirituality is not what you wanted to touch on, but you wanted to boost the mental and emotional and environmental aspects of a human being?
Two things. One was the fact that we tend to over-spiritualize matters so much so that everything we do and we are unable to do, we always say, God, God, God.
God knows why.
Yes, but the second point is I realize that most people really don't achieve in life, not because God is not on their side, but because there's something you have to do as an individual for you to be able to move forward. And that is really what I wanted to address. Yes.
Journey with us through your childhood. You shared with me an interesting story of how
I
you
grew up in the countryside where, those days we were taught English in vernacular, and I went to one of those
English
schools.
in vernacular?
In vernacular, imagine. So by the time I was done with my 8-year course in primary school, I was not able to explain myself how to articulate anything in English. But I was, I believe, an intelligent boy. I was admitted to join a provincial school. And while there, in my first year, I remember this school had admitted boys from all over the country. Some of them had gone to boarding primary schools where they had been taught English in English. Now,
that's an interesting equation
that was
right
a
there.
predicament right there because I was not able to talk to anyone. And I remember I overheard some two boys say to me, they say to each other, they say, look at that boy at the corner there. He can't even make a friend. He's so much of a soba. And I felt so offended, but I couldn't say anything to them. But I say to myself, by the time I'm done with my 4-year course in this school, I will be the best speaker and the best orator. So what I did, I began a club in that school, and I said, boys, if you come from a village like me, you are welcome to enroll. And here were the rules. No one was allowed to speak in vernacular. If you're caught speaking in vernacular, the fine would be 1 bob. And those days, 1 bob was a lot of money because it was equivalent to a half loaf of bread. And bread was very important.
And it's very significant in high school.
I didn't know that. Yeah. It was very important. So by just getting hold of 2 guys speaking vernacular, you had a whole loaf. Now, here's what I used to do during break times. I used to go and associate with the boys who had come from the urban cities. Now, those days, if you said you came from Buru, I mean, you belonged there in the society. So, but of course, I would speak to these boys and they would laugh at me because everything I said was wrong, grammatically, everything. But I didn't give up. I also never got any rest from the boys who had come from a village like me because they were telling me, why are you trying to pretend to be somebody that you are not? We know you. We know your mother, father, brother, sister. You're trying to speak in a language you hardly even able to explain yourself out. But I was determined. And I remember when I was in Form 3, we were preparing to go home for the April holiday. And I was given a chance to go in front of 702 boys to lead the entire school in morning prayers. I went in the front and I opened the Bible and I read a verse somewhere in the book of Proverbs. And after that, I decided to share with the rest of the students my insight concerning that verse. So I went on explaining for 10, 15 or so minutes. And after that, I went back to the queue. In our school, the principal, those days they were called headmasters, would allow the teachers to come forward and give their word of advice to the boys before they went home for the holiday. So the teacher who came forward was the teacher who was in charge of literature department. He came and he said, where's that boy who was leading us today in morning prayers? And I lifted up my head trembling because I thought
You've done something or said something wrong.
But to my surprise, he said 2 things that I will never forget that changed my thinking. He said, did you see how well he articulated his points? Did you see how he spoke with confidence? He said, next time when we resume, I would like you to come and see me because you are going to participate in public speaking. So when we resumed the following term, we had an internal competition in the school, and a boy who could not speak English in Form 1, in Form 3 second term, emerged top. I went to the zonal level, I was position 1. I went to the divisional level, I was position 1. I went to the district level, I was position 1. I went to the district level, position 1. I was defeated to position 2 at provincial level.
How did you feel at that point, the fact that you had made decisions that deliberately influenced, you know, your position in the school, socially? What did you feel when people were responding to you and you saw the impact of your plowing, if I may put it that way?
I would say a sense of fulfillment. I actually felt like I actualized something that was lying dormant within me. Today, when I give the same story, people tell me, are you the same boy who never knew how to speak English? And that tells me that each one of us has something in them that when it is harnessed and channeled in the right way, it can take them to far places. And that is why, really, this is one of the things that really motivated me to go into motivational speaking, because I discovered people have handles in life to overcome. And some people look at handles as limitations. But the fact that you have handles to overcome means you have to fight harder than most people, because you can go far when you do that.